There's lots to say,
which is good.
So I'm gonna.
But my missus said, "Don't ask that question." I'm like, man, I'm gonna ask this question.
And I think about all these things that you're asking quite a lot.
You know I can't help this, cause they know they can never touch this. So baby, let me talk my shit, or I might just go another fit.
What made you do it? What made you step away from the traditional route and go into the entertainment route?
Yeah.
And then we'll go into dealing with like fear, how a lot of people will deal with, you know, they're a little bit scared to get out of their shell and do what you've done. And then we'll wrap up sort of the learnings that you've done across your career and how it sort of, what sort of impacted you, what have you learned, and then we go from there.
Okay.
Cool?
There's lots to say,
which is good.
So I'm going to try not to go, because I know, firstly, I talk for a living.
Yeah.
So I have a habit of talking,
yeah.
and I'm also known for tangents as well.
Okay.
So bring me back by any means.
Okay.
And I'll probably will lose my train of thought. I will go, how do we get to that?
Yeah.
So, because it would just go. It would just go. Cool. And there's many things to say. And I think about all these things that you're asking quite a lot.
Sweet.
And obviously they're around me quite a lot, particularly with British Asian people and what people are doing, what they're not doing, and how many people are in the arts or creativeness. And I've been around that for a while.
Yeah.
So I've got, I suppose, different layers of answers I can give you. But I'm going to go for it, and then we'll see what comes.
So I wanted to ask you this question. When we were on the train, but my missus said, don't ask that question. I'm like, man, I'm going to ask this question. Because when we were on the train and you were like, you know how I was going to my cousins to visit my cousins, and you're like, man, I'm trying to break the stereotype. Is that, when you say the stereotype, is that meaning that you're trying to not move the same way? And in a good way, to give a picture back to the world, to be like, we're not just this one-stop thing.
Yeah.
We're everything, man.
Yeah.
Like, don't be... Yeah.
Meaning, it's as... In our world, and you know this with this media world, you need a label. Yeah. You need an umbrella you fit under.
Yes. Okay.
And same with everyone.
Yeah.
Most presenters, performers, actors, what does he do? Very few actors can do anything they want. Very few presenters can do anything they want. Very few musicians can do anything they want. You've got to fit a genre. When you see a brown guy, black guy, white guy, there's a certain thing that goes with that. So I joke about saying, we're trying to break out of it, but I'm playing to it. I'm doing Asian comedy nights, I'm doing British Asian radio, I'm doing the Asian thing. Right. So that's what I mean, like, but what I'm realising about the younger lot, particularly like the 20-odd-year-olds up to 30, they don't know their Asianness anywhere near as much as we do.
Yeah.
So they are breaking out. They're just doing whatever. They're making any music or they're doing any kind of podcast or whatever. But I still think the world's crossing over. So they're still falling. They're going, why aren't I getting my big break? Like, because the execs at the 40, 50-year-old level at labels or whatever.
They don't get it.
They don't get it.
They don't get it.
I will have to work so much harder. Think about this morning to get a mainstream show on to get people to realize.
I'm just going to record now while we talk. You know what I mean?
And we've got different obstacles to overcome. That's all it is. We've got more of a convincing to do. Who knows? It might work to our favour now in some respects, being brown, because you kind of go, now there's quotas and there's diversity box, quotas to fulfil.
Was that a challenge though at the start of the career? Was that something that you had to fight for?
So where it started for me was I went on to Blind Date.
Yes.
It's the dating show.
Yes.
And off the back of being on that show and loving being on that show.
Right.
So the first moment, the first moment is where, when Cilla Black, who's the host of the show, says, and here's our Tommy, and he's from Essex.
Yeah.
That's how they build it, right? So then, come in, Tommy. That was always a line. And here's our Shankar, and he's from Australia. Come in, Shankar.
Yeah.
That's what it would be. That's a standard intro. So it's an iconic line, and here's our Tommy, and he's from Essex. And the screen doors kind of open, and you've got 500 people. You got about 15 cameras. You got Cilla Black. You got lights. And I did a silly little dance in the doorway, and I got a big roar from the audience. So I thought, I need to do this all the time. Right. So you just loved that. I'd always done drama, performing arts, and all that at school.
Yeah.
But that was like it's now back in my life. I was straight in. I was like the bee getting the amber nectar, whatever you want to call it, out the flower. I've got the direct source. This is the hit. This is the good stuff.
This is what
I want. But then from that, a producer who was on the show said, and so I was 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
Again,
okay.
25 years ago, a white Welsh producer,
right,
who's still in my life today. His name's Marty. He went, you've got it.
True.
And there is no brown boys or girls on the scene like you. And he even and then afterwards, subsequently after the series, after I went out and a few years later when we were friends, he said, it's really hard to find people of color to even come on dating shows. It was a dating show back then.
Right.
You know, my sisters had arranged marriage.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there I am as a single guy on a dating show. So my parents, I remember them in a factor that my parents may have to address this with my sister's in-laws, because now the brother-in-law is on a dating show with 3 white girls, you know, taking his pick, and off he goes to the south of France with a white girl.
Right.
What's going on? That wouldn't, if my sisters would not be allowed to go on that show.
Gotcha.
So me and my sister have a great relationship. And they were the ones that said to me, they said, look, you're the brother. You're going to have a different set of freedoms, rules,
different set of life.
Yeah. They go, we don't want to take that away from you, but don't take the piss.
Yeah.
Don't disrespect mum and dad. I've never done drugs.
Yeah.
They've never had to find me somewhere pissed out my head. You know, I've come home and maybe puked up. I've come home and passed out. But I've not been in really bad trouble or not done crazy stuff. It's just been partying. Not regular
stuff.
Wild partying,
Yeah.
as it were, not irregular, whatever that means. So I didn't take the piss, and I respected them and I respected the sisters. And for that reason, you respect women and you know how to talk to girls because you've only grown up with sisters.
Yeah.
So all that kind of plays into layering you up for when you're in this game and you're dealing with different people. But I went on blind date, and that springboarded everything.
That was it.
Yeah.
All right, guys, before we get into it, let me introduce the podcast. Welcome to the Come Up Starter Kit podcast. I have an international icon.
Oh, wow.
Tommy Sandhu. Now, I have been waiting to do this podcast.
I think you're overplaying it. I think, honestly, no, you're going to let yourself down.
Well, look, for the people in Australia that don't know, this is big news. Like, Tommy is big news. He is a DJ, a radio presenter. He's been on TV shows. He's done mixing theme songs for TV shows. Is there anything else I've mixed?
No, that's it in the media world. Yeah, presenter, radio,
and businessman as well.
A little bit of business, a little bit of property, and a little bit of TV production.
Yeah,
and things like that. So whatever. Anything that'll pay the bills.
And I think the most important, a family man as well.
Yeah, that's why we do it. That's why you work.
Well, I think the main question that I wanted to ask is, doing all that plus being a family man, how do you find time?
No, you don't. You're always but you don't. You're always struggling. I promise you. That's
right.
The biggest thing. I suppose the only thing in the nicest possible way, and I tell my wife this, that we argue over is when we are not spending enough time together.
Gotcha.
And you know it. You can see it coming now.
Gotcha.
Like, I'm 45. I've been in relationships before my wife. Obviously, I was in a long-term relationship. So when things are going bad, and when things are a bit crappy, and they have been for months, or even sometimes in the previous exes since years, you know it. And now when you go into a relationship, I got married at like 31, 32.
Right.
You can
Same
see
as
it.
me, man.
All right.
Yeah.
See, and I think it's so important. So many, particularly Asian guys and girls, will get married young because they're told by their parents that's the good thing. Yeah, good time to get married, 24, 25, 26, before you're bitter and twisted from bad relationships.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the theory.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Don't date too long because you're going to end up going off each other.
Yeah.
So,
or you won't do anything at all.
Right.
You'll just stay single.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are so many of those, by the way. There's so many people now sort of in their 40s, mid-40s kind of going, hey, how am I still single? Like, they got it going on. They're good looking. They're attractive. They're outgoing. They're funny. They're quirky, but they just never quite, it never happened. And then there's those that locked down at 24 and went, I think I got married a bit too young.
Right.
So I think we've got it right. I think that 30-odd age, you want to have a couple of relationships under your belt. You want to know about the world. You want to have traveled a little bit. You want to have a bit about yourself. And then you want to get into a relationship where you can bring something to the table. And also you can see the problems coming. So when we don't spend time together, the point is with the missus, and like now, right now, September 2022, it's been a quiet August because it's summer. And so we went off to Canada. We had a family wedding.
Right.
So how you are over here at a family wedding, we went off to a
Yes.
Canada one, stayed for a couple of weeks. But again, you got people all around you. And even that was crazy. And I said to my wife, we were talking about this yesterday. I said, Canada wasn't good for us.
Gotcha.
It was great for the wedding.
Gotcha.
Great to see everybody. But we had no time to chill.
Gotcha.
We had no time to chill with the boys, our 2 sons,
Yes.
who are 10 and 5. And now that we're back every weekend, because September then is effectively, believe it or not, this is our summertime. This is the end of our summer. I know it's not your summer. Where's the sunshine? I hear you ask. Yeah, I know. This is it.
Yeah.
So it's just not raining and cold. So now, but every weekend throughout September is stand-up comedy. So it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is events. It's
And that's what you were doing just last week.
all the time.
weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are we now? Yeah. What day is it? Yeah. So last night was Monday night off. And then today tonight I'll record my own podcast.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So Tommy's Brown Load, which
Yes.
is record, which is a download for brown people.
Make sure you get onto it.
Yeah, it's just silly. It's me and two other guys, just nonsense.
Perfect.
And then tomorrow is, we're filming another comedy show for ITV.
Oh, wow.
Thursday is another thing for, it's a corporate up in Bradford. Friday's a stand-up show. Saturday's a stand-up show. So it just goes. But coming back to your question about time, my family time, you got to steal it. You got to grab it when you can. I take the boys to school when I can. I pick them up when I can. I do most of the cooking.
Right.
Cleaning the kitchen, that goes a long way.
Yeah,
goes a long way
Oh,
with
it
the wife.
does. It does.
Clean up, do a little spruce up, make the bed, Then I'm doing my bit. You just got Yes, I think you just got to constantly try it. I always describe relationships like a shop. It's like like your typical Asian sweet shop.
Yeah.
You don't just open the doors and expect customers to come. You got to run little offers.
Gotcha.
You got to do promos. You got to put the things out front. You got to put a little sign up saying, "Hey, we're open for business." In the same way you make those efforts for a business, you make those efforts.
Investing
for a relationship.
time.
Yeah,
It's all about putting in the time.
yeah, and trying to find the things that going to keep it going.
Yeah. So the reason why I brought Tommy on, in this podcast, we're all about helping you build yourself to the dreams that you want to try and achieve. Tommy has been in the media space for a long time, and he's been through the ups and downs. And I look at Tommy because in Australia, I don't have someone to look up to. I don't have anyone to be like, if I can see someone, I think I can do it. But if you don't have anyone to see, it's hard, right? You're trying to just go at it.
Do you mean by like brown people?
Brown people, 100%, purely.
And do you believe in that strongly, that you need to, because this is something I question and I'm not against, but do you need to see yourself or a version of yourself to aspire to yourself? In which case, Shankar, let me put it back on you.
Yeah.
Aren't you being a bit blinkered that you can't see yourself in John Smith or Sarah Jane, on the telly? Because they have their struggles.
So I would say I can't relate to them from a cultural perspective. You like when I see you're exactly the same. I was born and raised in Australia. You're born and raised in Britain.
Yeah.
We come from traditional backgrounds.
Yep.
Now, and I think you're a first immigrant here.
Yeah.
There you go. So same with myself. When immigrants or families of immigrants come to a country, they are risk adverse in a sense that they're like, okay, we will set the foundations, but now we need our offsprings to lay down the next foundations. But you need to be somewhat conservative and safe because you don't want to rock the boat because we've come over here to flourish in a way, right?
Yeah.
But we're these black sheeps essentially, and be like, you know what? I'm not going to be a doctor. I'm not going to be a lawyer. I want to do media. Yeah. And they're like, who has done media? Tell me, who has done media? Yeah. And I'm like, I can't point to anyone.
Not in Australia.
Not in Australia.
Yeah.
But in the UK, it's a little bit more mature in the sense that there's a lot more migration there. There's a lot more. And then someone like yourself, where I can be like, oh, he's done it. He's doing it. Why can't I do what he's doing?
Yeah.
It's possible. Yeah. But I can't say to, an actor, whoever is famous that may be of Caucasian descent, they may have already established networks through just purely being within that country. So it may be easier for them to say, hey, I can do this or whatnot. But we are literally building from ground zero and almost paving the way for hopefully to encourage other people to do it.
Yeah. See, so it's funny because then for us, straight away, the journey into this business becomes a cause.
Yes.
You're now, you're trying to make it's a movement. Yeah. Someone's got to pave the way. Someone's got to, there's no path right now for a typical brown person.
Yeah, man.
Right. And also, you got to think from the commissioner's point of view as well. If they want to cast someone for a daytime ITV show, Holly Willoughby and Philip Schofield recently, the Q Jumpers, as they now know, do you know about that? So they're your daytime hosts of like a daily chat show they have on your health issues, celebrity, films, whatever. It's just you're lovely sitting on a sofa, backdrop of the Thames. They sit there, lovely little early mid-morning show, starts at 10 to about midday, something like that. But they were recently invited to see the Queen's coffin. And big scandals were revealed because they jumped the queue. But they said, no, it was for media. It was a press queue. We didn't push in the queue, but it's just not gone well the way it's been handled. And sometimes I always wonder whether the execs and TV execs and people like that are behind that. Because
just
who knows what's going on? Yeah, exactly. Who knows who's controlling that media? But my point is that show in England, part of me could argue it should be Philip Schofield and Holly Willoughby, white, blonde,
white, silver-haired, older man, but cool guy. He's been around in the scene for years. They should host it. This country is 90% white.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But Tommy Sandhu wants to be there.
Yeah. That.
You know, Alison Hammond, who's on that show, wants to be there and does that show now and then. But she's been working on that show as their kind of sideline roving reporter for like the best part of, I'd say, 10 years.
Yeah.
And now he's on the main sofa.
Yeah.
So, you know, in India, we're giving it all the large about Australia and England.
Yeah.
In India, would they put on a white
Well,
person
exactly
or a black
right.
person
It's
on a
exactly
mainstream
right.
show? God,
Probably
no.
not.
So it's not like we're not here preaching, but this is my world, Shankar. This is your world. We've grown up in an English-speaking country. You're in Australia. I'm in England.
Yeah.
What I've grown up with, all my references are the same.
Yeah,
white
exactly.
kids' references.
Exactly.
If
Yes.
anything, they're a little bit more layered, or I'd say, yeah, they're layered, not in a more clever way. I'm not trying to appear superior, because we've had Bollywood running through us. So I've seen all the 70s and 80s Bollywood films. They're all been on cassette in the house. We have family weddings. We have 400, 500, 600 people at a wedding. We have the cameras and the shoots and the outfits and the music and the food and all those other things that go with our culture and the drama and the different little nuanced ways in which Indians are compared to Pakistanis are, compared to Sri Lankans are, compared to whoever are.
Yeah.
So we have all that running through us, as well as hip hop and black culture and Western culture and all those other things and MTV and blah, blah. So this mega mix is going through us. I think we have something to offer the media world.
Yes.
So coming back to like, I don't see myself, or I don't see myself, but what I do see, I go, I can do that.
Yeah. Right.
And I think I can do it better.
Yes.
I think I'm stronger. I think I'm tougher as
Better?
a broker. Yeah. Like I see your link. I hear your banter or your quips. I did performing arts. We did drama. I did flamenco for 2 years. You know, like we've been through
For people
it.
that may not know what flamenco is, what is flamenco?
Oh, it's a Spanish dance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, like, we're trained in the art. We've done theatre shows. We've done the art. So we've gone through that rank. Then we did shopping telly. Then we did quiz telly. These late night random channels, 800 and something that no one's ever going to go on. You know, there's 4 people watching and I'm on at midnight selling lamps.
Yeah.
But you do that show for 3 hours and you do quiz television where, you know, there's a premium rate number, pound a call, and you got to answer the question on the screen. It's some ridiculous
Got you. Yeah, we
question.
have.
But you're doing that. You're talking down the barrel of the camera, just you and the camera, for like 2 hours. Then you take a 15-minute break and you go again for an hour. And then when you get to BBC Radio, 10, 15 years later, they say to you, oh, the link might go down. If a song crashes, you know, like if a song stops playing, you might have to fill for 30 seconds. And you go, 30 seconds? I can fill for 3 hours.
Right.
I could talk about lamps. I could talk about...
It was just a stomping ground for you.
Yeah, you. That's where my agent at the time said, because that's where you earn your stripes. You go off and we've earned our stripes.
Yeah, got you.
So coming back to your point about what you see on the telly, I'm like, no. I've been in the dojo. I've done my training.
Yeah, got you.
And I've made all the mistakes and I've cringed and I've died on my ass and I've you know, gone completely blank on camera and gone, sorry, I don't even know what I'm saying.
Right.
I've done all that.
Yeah, right.
So that when those feelings come about, again, a bit like the relationship, you've had your bad relationship. See, it's all about experience.
Yes.
And then when those feelings come about, you can see them coming.
Got you.
You know how to deal with it. You can think, hang on a minute, I've sort of lost my way here with this point. What am I saying? Bring it back. And you can do that whilst you're still talking.
It's
Because
a skill.
we've learned.
It's a skill.
It is a skill.
It's definitely a skill.
But we put in the time to learn.
True.
So that's my point is, so yeah, we looked on the television, we saw Sanjay Bhaskar and all those like Mira Sayal and the Goodness Gracious Me. They were doing it then. And then you might see the odd Asian person in the news or someone in the background in EastEnders.
But that's it.
There wasn't any, and there isn't any really in mainstream, what I'd call entertainment.
Yeah, gotcha.
You get actors, you get comedians, you get broadcasters.
But entertainment.
Yeah, I want to do quiz shows, chat shows.
Yeah.
I want silliness. I want Sky One, that kind of silly, irreverent, random, ladsy, fun, all-inclusive stuff. And that's what we're working towards. Okay. And, you know, you could argue, maybe I'm not going to get it. 45 years old, and it hasn't happened yet. So, but I'm loving what I'm doing at the moment anyway.
So I'm going to touch into all that. But I want to give the people a bit of a background in terms of who you are.
Sorry.
So you studied in the arts and you majored in advertising though, right?
Yeah. So my degree was in advertising and marketing communications. So
yes.
You did that. And I'll tell you the truth, I've mentioned this once or twice before, not many times, but when I was 16, so I was always into performing arts.
Yeah.
And why? Because my sisters were into it.
Oh,
and
right.
why are they into it? So breaking the stereotype slightly, my dad encouraged us.
What?
Yeah. So he said, you got to be able to speak in public, and you got to be able to dance, is what he said to me. He goes, guys that can dance, you'll move,
Clean up.
you'll move well. But it's also, I get what he meant, like someone who's not physically awkward, you then, everything about you comes across well. Because you see dancers,
It's so true.
they hold themselves,
Yeah.
real proper dancers,
Yeah.
they hold themselves well. So he always said, you got to do that, go to that. And he used to make me do something. And I'm going to say this because it's a great little thing. And you should do it with your kids when they're older and all that, when you have kids and everything else. You haven't got kids.
No,
have you?
no, no.
Right? Not yet. One day.
One day.
Because you're brown. You
Yes,
will.
exactly.
That's
They're
your
waiting.
duty.
They are waiting.
7 or 8 of them.
Yeah.
He would say, right, look at the clock. And when the second hand hits 12, for 30 seconds, I want you to talk about that clock and don't say or
Wow.
And this is when I was 10.
Right.
So we're going back 35 years, right? And I'd go, the first thing you do, he'd go, and your time starts now. And you'd go, and you go, no, start again then. Wait till the, wait till the next,
the
next
second.
second.
Yeah, yes.
Go again. And then you'd go, the clock is brown. It has golden Roman numerals. Then the number, the second hand is in red and and it's shaped like a hexagon.
Yes.
And you develop the ability to bullshit.
You're exactly right. Exactly what I was going to say.
He just
Yes.
homed in on my BS talking abilities. So, and then from that, with shopping telly, with improvisation, with what you learn in drama classes, with all that all, and then doing shows, and then, the show must go on. And if someone fluffs a line, you carry on. All of that is ingrained into you. Then then you do your A levels, and then at 16, so I'm this confident kid. I'm the only boy in the family, which is gold, right? And I know I'm privileged and I'm lucky, and I've got 2 older sisters who are like a couple of extra mums.
Right.
One of them kind of does all my admin, and she did my driving license form, and my application for universities, and she does all that. The other one is the emotional one,
Gotcha.
who tells me about my relationship with girls or how to behave in a certain way and language and how we come across. And then my mum is just the feeder.
Yes.
Aren't
they all? Yeah.
So, but at 16, I was, it sounds, I don't want to pin it on this because I don't want to appear victim-like, but it was my only racist attack that I was a victim of. So I got a job, my first ever job, because 16 was legally allowed to work, in a sports shop that hadn't opened yet, but they took us for training in this college. This college was in an area called Romford. Romford back then was a little bit racist.
Yeah, gotcha.
But then everything was a little bit racist back then. We were always, whenever you were playing out in the street, you're always nervy of a car that might go past and suddenly stop, and you'd have to run.
Wow.
You would just wait. If you were playing kickabout in the street, you'd wait. If a car would go past, you see 4 or 5 white guys or younger white guys, particularly, or skinheads.
Gotcha.
You'd be weary. You'd wait. The car would go past. If the brake lights came on, we'd just run. That was normal.
Damn.
And I was a fat kid. I couldn't even run. So I remember I used to just have to get over a hedge and hide, and the others could run, could clear the street or clear a fence. I couldn't do that. I just thought hiding was my technique, and it was terrible when it was cold because my breath would give me away, and you might because it would the steam.
Yeah,
they'd see the steam. I'm like, I can't run far. I've got to get to a hedge quickly. Tommy Sandhu, half man, half animal, throughout the 90s. So, but what happened was I was coming back from this training course with another guy who I bumped into and who I knew. Vaguely knew, his friend of a friend. I met him at the training course. All right, we played football together. And he lived on an estate, and the car got jumped by some guys who spotted his car and just opened the car doors up and just punched us repeatedly, shouting the P word. And that, I think, when I think back to it, I remember sort of thinking, I don't want to be on stage anymore. I didn't want to show off anymore. I didn't want to perform anymore. Like something just went a bit.
Right.
So that's when I went into advertising, because someone said, well, advertising, you still got to be outgoing, and it's still campaigns and creating, but it's not you on stage kind of going, everybody look at me. So I remember physically moving away from that at about 16, 17, then picking my degree course as advertising, doing the course. But when I went away to university, I suddenly came out of my shell a bit more, because you suddenly you're moved away from home. I'm my own person. I'm partying. I've got more into DJing. I'm playing the club scene. Sort of my confidence kind of came back. I ain't gonna lie, there was a lot of girls as well. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, especially with the DJ. Yeah.
So you're having fun. You're meeting different girls. You also, I wasn't an arse to girls, so I'd get on with girls because I'm raised with them. Gotcha. So I lived with girls and all that. So I enjoyed that time and partying and just finding myself. And then after university, right at the end of university is when I went on blind date, and that's when I kind of came back full circle to kind of, actually, I think I do want this again.
Right.
I do want to be on stage again.
Okay.
But
so then,
years.
once you finished university, what was your first job?
Well, yeah. So funny. So it's right at the end of university. I got elected as president of my students' union.
Right.
So you run. It's a paid position
Right.
at the university. Effectively become you're like the student rep.
Yes.
But it's the main position in terms of setting policies, working out what students want, kind of fulfilling their needs. And I like that. I like the
Right.
service element of it.
Right.
I like the service element of being me, big, bold, and all that, and just in everyone's face, but kind of doing it for my peoples.
Yes.
I felt like I was doing good.
Right.
And also because I was a bit of a loudmouth, if there was problems with courses or heads of courses, I was happy to talk to them and talk to them
Butt
about
heads.
but charm them.
Yeah,
And do it
right.
in my way. I
Right.
wouldn't do it in a kind of like, we've had a complaint, I go, come on. It would be more cheeky.
Yeah,
Like
right.
East End London
Yeah.
that's coming through.
Right.
All my family are entrepreneurs. All of them are in property.
okay.
Everyone's a bit of a wide boy. I'd come from this big family. My dad's got 7 siblings. All those siblings have got kids. They all live within a 4-mile radius right now. So within about 4
Oh,
miles,
you're all, yeah,
there's about
gotcha.
180 people, family, first cousins, and their kids.
That's nice.
All within 4 miles.
Right.
So that noise around you means you just pipe up. You're quick to pipe up.
Gotcha.
We're not,
Scared.
Yeah, scared,
You're not
or
scared.
what they call it, wallflowers. That
Right.
what's that phrase about wilting or wilting wallflowers? Where you're
Okay.
just kind of just in the background. Or
Okay.
quiet. We're not background people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Center stage,
we're
mate.
center stage people, and my sister said it again when I remember she told me when I was 15. She said because there was another guy and I was referring to him and he's fair skinned, he's got
Right.
green eyes,
Right.
he's got floppy hair, and I was the chubby kid, but I was a bit of a loudmouth.
Okay.
And I said, all attention's goes to him. And I'm 15 years old. And she said, he might get the attention walking into a room. You make sure you've got the attention walking out the room.
Right.
And silly little things like that
Right.
stick. My dad saying, I can give you so much in my, inheritance, retirement, whatever. It's your job to double that for your kids.
Grow it.
So that stuck. And I remember once I found a key ring, and I'm Sagittarius. I found a Sagittarius
right.
key ring. It's a leather key ring, and it had a sex position on it.
Right.
Just a drawing of
Yeah.
this cartoon, and it said Sagittarius, and it was this way. So I picked it up. I thought, a bit naughty. I kept it. My mum found it.
Oh no, here we go.
This was the lesson, right? So in the hallway of the house, she said to me,
You're doing
found this.
sex position.
No, that's it. She didn't. This is the Indian mum
Right.
of dealing with me. But the message was well and truly understood by me. She showed me. She went, I've just seen that you got this. She goes, where'd you get it from? I said, I found it.
Okay.
And she went, boys who have sisters don't have stuff like this. And that was it. That's all she said.
Whoa.
It was a moral thing. Like, have some respect. You got sisters.
Yeah.
You don't operate like this.
Right.
We don't do this. This is for the Rudy to do this,
Right.
not you. And I didn't. And I was like, okay. And that was the mess. And I get it. It was like so therefore, boys who have sisters, I'm sorry, I'm going to say, I don't shag around.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
never
yeah.
the one, even when I was in my single days, I didn't do that. I fell in love with everyone I met
Yeah.
because we gave our heart.
Yeah.
We don't, it's not just about saying something to get, you give yourself.
Right.
So, and
You have a respect.
right. And that also lends itself to broadcasting. And actually everything we do on screen, what you're doing now, what I'm doing, if it's not genuine, people will know.
Yeah. They'll read straight through.
Because
Yeah.
it's not coming from the heart.
Yeah.
I'm here with you now because I love people. When you said you're from Australia doing a podcast, I thought that's rated.
Yeah.
That's
right.
that's hard work. You could just be chilling. You could go around and see more about London or head on off to Cambridge or go sightseeing. But you're recording stuff. You're hustling. You're doing your thing. I love that, and I'm always doing that.
Yes.
So I think you get that mindset comes in from your parents, from your sisters, from
Yeah.
your mum, from your cousins, from all those people around me, all those influences. That's what shapes me. But yeah, advertising was the one I thought, and I loved advertising because it also teaches you about how to market yourself. So when you talk about who's on there, who's out there for me, who I look up to, yeah, you're right. But I'm like, yeah, but I know where I could fit in.
Yeah.
I know where my product fits into the market, to the world of TV, radio, entertainment, broadcaster, presenters, stroke, funny men and women. I know where I can get in.
So your first job out was Blind Date?
No, well, first job out of university was presidency.
Presidency?
Yeah, and then at the very end of and that was staying at the university whilst I was DJing, great fun, good time. And then right at the end of university was because I done Blind Date while I was at the end of studying.
Okay.
Then it
Oh,
was that.
wow.
So then when I ran for president, everybody knew who I was, because we're going back to a time when there wasn't 200 channels.
Yeah.
There was a 5
Got you. There's
channels.
like 5 channels that you can pick from, right?
I'd be walking through town centres and people would recite the theme tune to Blind Date.
Yeah, wow.
They'd all do this kind of thing because and that was their way of kind of going, we know who you are, kind of thing. So that would happen. But then right at the tail end of presidency, because I'd become familiar with the producers on the show, the one who said, look, there's a space for you.
Got you.
He kind of became my unofficial agent, Marty.
Right.
And then he moved on to another show. The execs had moved on to another show. And that show was on Sky One. And it was called Smash Hits TV. Smash Hits was a magazine.
Okay.
And it made it into a music TV magazine show. So the first job I got was interviewing the girl band Atomic Kitten.
Okay. Oh,
Smash
wow.
Hits.
Okay.
And then it was Moby. Then it was a R&B singer called Joe. So I started doing little
Joe,
gigs for
right.
Sky. So I was straight in on a Sky One show. First audition, first show, mainstream telly. So I kind of fell straight into it.
So, and you've interviewed some huge names,
Yeah.
some massive names, Shah Rukh Khan, Craig David,
Yeah.
keeps going.
Yeah.
So then when did BBC One Extra come about?
Oh, yeah. So BBC Asian Network.
Asian
Yeah,
Network.
the One Extra is like their urban. It was started off as a black station, but then it's now just actually weirdly there's more white kids that listen to One Extra.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
hip hop and R&B,
yes,
and they're probably from some posh area in England,
But they wanna get
but
in
they
with
wanna
the
get-
ends.
They love the scene of grime and
Yeah.
all that music. So no, Asian Network heard about me because. So I went on Blind Date as a contestant, went away, had my fun. 2 years later, the producers picked me up for that other Sky One show. But then I'm DJing so then I moved to London for
Right.
that. I'm DJing in and around London. I'm making little bits of dance music.
Right.
I then go into the studio, I'm making music. And because I'm friends with the producers of Blind Date, they say, hey, they want to remix the theme music. They want to just dance. Everything was going dance music, house music then.
Right.
And I said, let me just pitch something. Went into the music studio, did that. They liked it. And when I was finishing it off, I got the phone call to say, by the way, they're looking for a new voiceover on Blind Date.
Gotcha.
And the voiceover job on Blind Date was quite iconic. It was a guy called Graham. And Silla used to say in every show, and here's our Graham with his quick reminder, and he'd do a little recap of the contestants that were on the dating show.
Right. Was that her son?
No.
No,
He
that
was
makes
actually
sense.
more her age.
Okay, right.
Right, I say not more, probably about 5-10 years younger than her, but more her age.
Okay.
But she never really hung out with him. That's the other thing. So then I was DJing. Scylla's come to the club because I know her through the producers. So me and Scylla are hanging out. We're actually becoming quite good friends. There's loads of wisdom and insight that you're going to get from someone like Scylla, who was a 60s hit, icon.
Yeah.
She was regarded as the female Beatles. She knows John Lennon. She knew
Oh,
John
wow.
Lennon. She knows
Right.
McCartney. She knows all that era of people, Lulu, all the singers from all around the world. She's known everywhere. So you get gems of nuggets of
Yeah.
information of how to deal with this business.
Gotcha.
So I'd love hanging out with her. I'd love hearing the stories. We'd go on holiday together. I know it's odd. It sounds
Yeah,
odd
right.
that, this kind of 60-odd-year-old woman is a guy in his 20s.
Right.
But it was completely, I was like her son.
Yeah,
And she
gotcha.
said, it was like that.
Yeah.
She was very loving. She'd pay for everything. She's loaded. I DJ'd at her birthday party. But my point is, I was in the studio. I'm making the music to Blind Date. I knew her at that stage. And they said, just put your voice down. See what it sounds like. I'm that guy, like everyone is before you hear your voice back. You hate the sound.
Yeah.
You hate it. You cringe.
Yeah.
But I did it. And because I was in the studio, we got these lovely mics making it sound all big, rich and nice.
Right.
So I did that. They liked the voice. And I went on to Blind Date, and that's when BBC Asian Network was like, hold on, there's a brown boy who's got the voiceover job on the mainstream ITV Saturday night primetime show, Blind Date.
Gotcha.
How's that happen? And so they brought me in. They did a little interview first, how it came about. Then they said, would I like to kind of do a few little bits for the radio? I started doing it because I was DJing in town. So I was playing all these celebrity clubs, 50 Cents in the club, Noel Gallagher's in the club.
Right.
They're all there. So I'd just be like, yeah, he was just tell them what I saw, him and his entourage and, whatever.
True.
Yeah. I wouldn't grasp them if they were doing anything.
Yeah.
Little. I kept it real, 50, if you're watching.
Right.
But it's like, so you do a bit of celebrity talking, then you talk up some other stories. So I did little bits like that on the radio. Then I started covering people on the radio when they were off. Then they gave me Weekend Breakfast. They gave me the Drive Time show. Moved on to Breakfast show.
So if we scale it all back,
Yeah.
for someone that is trying to break into that industry, what is the best form of action? And from what I'm seeing is that from yourself, you're in a bit of you're doing everything. So is it a point of networking that was the kicker, or yeah, how does someone that is trying to follow what you're doing get to where you're trying to get to?
Look, I didn't plan any of it.
Yeah,
that's
right.
that's the other thing
Wow.
to point out. When I went on blind date, I was finishing off my degree, thinking I wanted to run for presidency, but thinking that when you're president of a students' union, you could get picked up by a cool marketing company and get into that.
Okay.
But then being on blind date, look, I think you got to be nice to people. What did someone say? Don't shit on anybody on the way up because you don't know who you're going to meet on the way down, right? So that was always something that we'd always been taught, and just morals and being raised the way we're raised.
Yeah.
We're not mean to, we're not off with anybody.
Yeah.
So I was, I got on well with the crew at Blind Date. I got on well with the producer of Blind Date, who then got me the first job on television. And because I loved it, you're nice to everyone. You don't know, you're just nice to different runners or assistants who then are going to be the future execs of in 5-10 years time.
Yeah.
So I guess I didn't push it. I didn't network it. I didn't hustle it. I think nowadays kids, the guys doing the YouTube videos and the Instagrammers and all that lot, they hustle a lot more. They're out there. They're editing, they're filming, they're cutting, they're doing it all. They're working a lot harder than I did.
Right.
I guess I put myself out there.
Right.
I made a little show reel. I kept on plugging away at it. But ultimately, I can't do anything else, Shankar. I can't. Right. I'm no good for anything else. I have no transferable skills. I can't use Excel. I'm not very good on Word. There's no computer skills. Even like some of the technical stuff with podcasting, you think because I do a podcast, because I do record stuff or whatever, I'd be good at maybe a little bit handy at editing or whatever. No,
right.
I'm a child.
Right.
I've got no interest in it. Right. I want the glory. I want to be on stage. I know I can hold a show together, an award ceremony, even if it's complex. There's 50 awards to get through. There's different speakers. I can do all of that. I love that. Right. I love programming that whole night, I suppose, in that respect, and making sure it runs smoothly. But I've got no interest in all the other bits. So, networking, all that kind of suddenly makes it sound serious and real. I wasn't like that. Right. Whoever I met, we were nice to.
Got you.
And if they were a TV person, they might be to help you out. You might ask a question, what can I do? And they'd all say the same thing in the early stages, go off and get experience.
Yeah.
Go off and get experience.
Yeah.
And now I feel armed with experience to the extent that now I look at TV and radio and think a lot of these people that are getting the jobs, they haven't got nearly as much as what I've got under my belt. But it's cool because now I get that people need to fit the right show and fit the right format and things like that. So I now want the right format for me, but I don't exactly know what that is. But I know it will come through a kind of a creative process, I suppose.
So I'm going to touch on fear. Was there ever an element of especially going into this industry, right? Because it's so, I guess, quote unquote, freelance, right? You're just sort of trying to pitch yourself out there and hope that something will pick up. Does that scare you at all?
Yeah, it did. So hence when I moved to London, moved back to London. So I'm from East London and I went down to Bournemouth to do my degree. That's what it was, down on the coast. Okay. Which I loved. Partly because of Home and Away and all your shows.
Oh, yeah.
Because you'd watch that and you see everyone studying on the beach.
Yeah.
And you go, that's what I want.
That's never true, by the way.
I know. By the way, it doesn't work.
Never true.
There's sand blowing on the pages are blowing over. You're like, this so doesn't work. Right. But we did it anyway. Okay. We did so down in Bournemouth, that's where I did my degree. That's where I was on blind date. When I went for the blind date auditions and things like that. But then coming back to London, I went straight away and worked for my family business just to get some money in the daytime.
Got you.
And that family business, they've got a lot of property. Okay. It's not this is my mum and dad, but it's more the cousins and the network of them. Man. So they've got a lot of property in East London. And then one of the guys was opening a hotel. He was building it, big 300 bedroom hotel. And he brought me in because I'd just done a degree in marketing. This is what Asians are like. They just employ their own. Right. He brought me in as marketing manager at 23 years old. Wow. I didn't have a clue about marketing. I wanted to be on the telly. I was DJing at night. So I came to London, got a couple of DJ slots. It takes a while to kind of get into the clubs and get residencies. So I built that up over the year, got a few 4 or 5 slots, but I was still working for them. So I had that security of a bit of money coming in. Gotcha. But then my cousin who ran the hotel sort of said, look, your heart's not in this. You keep running off to go do auditions or screenings or this. You should just go and do that. So then I thought, I got a little bit of money coming in now through DJing. I can let go. Gotcha. So there is that practical fear of, not earning any money. And you can't just not earn any money.
Yeah, bad.
And particularly when you're in your mid-20s.
Yeah.
You're like, and because my family are in property, I got a house from my mum and
Yeah,
dad.
yeah.
So I had a small house I lived in. So I had the mortgage on that. That was my responsibility. And then my dad said, look, I can give you one house.
Yeah.
You must build this up.
Yeah.
And we built up. So now we hope, my sons will have a few houses.
Yeah,
each,
right.
rather than just one each.
Yeah.
So I feel like, okay, I did what I was supposed to do.
Right.
And then in the same time, I'm gambling. So I've got my kind of safe bet property stuff. And then I've got my gamble with the TV, radio, podcast world. So yeah, we're working all the time.
Yeah.
We're working all the time, weekends, day, night, evenings. And I tell my kids that. Particularly my 10-year-old, I went, look, I don't go to the pub. I don't drink anymore.
Yeah, gotcha.
I don't go to the pub.
Yeah, I
don't do anything. I said, I'm literally, if I'm not cooking or hanging out with you guys,
you're working.
I'm working.
So then, and when you define working, what do you mean by working?
So, okay. So I have my podcast.
Yeah.
I have stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
I have a handful of properties. I've just bought a brand new site with a cousin of mine which is a 4-acre site in Canterbury, Kent, which we bought for just under £2.5 million.
Whoa.
And it's a full development. We want to try and get 70 houses on there.
Wow.
Now that means talking to councillors, talking to planning officers, talking to architects, talking to building surveyors, all of that.
Yeah.
Now I do all of the talking.
Gotcha.
Because
you can talk.
I can talk. And and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I love characters and I love people. And I do the work I do, the TV, radio work, because I do love people. I love music. I love life.
Right.
I also like creating good times. And I know that unfortunately, money creates good times.
Yeah, of course.
It facilitates it. You got to have it in you. You got to have good times in you. You got to have a laughter in you. So, and I love being on stage. I love performing. So I'm not willing to let kind of any of it go. I'm sure it will hybrid down. But I guess throughout lockdown, I realized actually I need to do a bit more the property stuff because I'm 45. I want to be done by 50. I want to be out. I want to 50, maybe 51, 52.
Okay.
I want to know that, right, we've got this much property, got this much in the bank, and that'll be enough.
But let me ask you this question. Let's say that you land the shows that you want to do. I couldn't imagine you stopping at 50. I think you would run the gauntlet.
I think you can. I think with broadcasting, you can keep going.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of grafting, chasing, building, developing, I'm now building, a podcast kind of company. I'm building an audio production company. Well, I was part of building a TV production company, which ran for 12 years. We made Britain's Next Top Model, which I know they have Australia's Next Top Model as well. So we did that. And I did the theme music to that as well as other theme music. So we're in that scene. But, after a while, you think I've been just building and doing stuff since I was in my mid-20s.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking, right, what's my exit? How much have we got? How much more do we want? Where does contentment lie? How much money do you really want before you become a bit of a liability? And, you become a bit of a target. Right. I don't want that. Right. I don't, and I'm not that materialistic. Look, I'm in my tatty trainers, tatty jeans and a normal Nike top. I'm not a labels person. I'm not a designer watch person. Right. None of that. But I don't think I have the lifestyle or the income to justify that. Right. I've got a nice house. I've got a few other nice properties. Yeah, of course you could change those properties for nice cars and watches and all that, but it doesn't interest me.
Gotcha.
I like the game. I like people. I like this.
Yes.
So I want to just be constantly doing stuff.
With yourself being or having done TV, radio, do you think that is the future, or do you think that it's now shifted and it's gone to the YouTubes, the podcasts, and that will be the medium that eyeballs are where it's at?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's always evolving. Everything's evolving. People are evolving. Even right now with all this gender fluidity and things that we don't know, it's just the evolution of humans. Before we started off one way, all living in our own countries where all the browns were from there, or the blacks, or the whites. Yeah. That's evolving. Right. Culturally, we're evolving. Our foods are evolving. Our tastes are evolving. Physically, what we need, the mental health element, we're evolving. So TV technology, of course, is going to evolve. I think eyeballs, wherever they are, on that screen, on your MacBook, computer, laptop, or phone, or if it be TV, people want to consume. Yeah. People want to consume the same kinds of things: humor, entertainment, craziness, whatever it might be, knowledge, information, something truly inspiring. So yes, things will shift, and people are going to watch things on the go, and the way people can consume things because of the internet and your 4G, 5G on your phone and everything else. So yeah, things will change. But I watched the rubbish that my sons watch.
Yeah.
And some of it is just dreadful.
Yeah.
And I think so what it does do, it allows there to be a lot more, and it allows a lot more opportunity for people to kind of break in and get there and get their content out there. But some of it's awful. Some of it's just not even funny or clever or anything.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we watch kids' TV shows, which were silly and bonkers and all that. But I think, God, you know, what these kids are watching now, I sort of say to my sons, I go, I don't get it, but maybe I'm not supposed to get it.
Yeah,
you know,
gotcha.
maybe that's just a generational thing. But yeah, definitely when we were on the radio, on the BBC Asian network, before I was sacked, our whole thing, the reason why I think our show grew to being the most listened to Asian show on Asian radio in the country was because we made radio first, and we also made sure there was something for social media. So where's the bit that we can put up? Where's the clip? And then it was clips. Like where is the game?
Bites.
Where is the
Gotcha.
visual bit? So you know you're going to hit them on Instagram, hit them on Snapchat, hit them on Facebook,
Book them in.
and make a point on Twitter, and then the radio is the main listen where you get it all.
Right.
And so yeah, you got to play to the platforms. Even this, you're filming it and we're recording it.
Yeah.
Has to be.
Yeah.
Particularly, I realize now because set up this company, we're making stuff for Audible in India.
Yeah.
And all that. We're making different audio shows. They've missed a trick. They're not filming it as much. Audible weren't too interested in that. And the numbers don't light up because the clip needs to go out, and then people will go and find it on an audio platform.
And then go on to it.
So I think all those mediums that you mentioned, they all go hand in hand now. So I don't think it moves away from telly to whatever, because we still like a telly night.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, as a parent, tablets and phones ain't right for your kids. There's something about, they ain't right for mine.
Wow.
I see them go crazy.
Wow.
There is a straight, direct correlation between crazy behavior and like what I call like they become like stoners. You kind of go, guys,
wow.
and you go, huh? And they're literally like that, huh? They're like, I'm like, you guys need to wake up.
They've just warped.
Yeah. And I'm like, literally get up, get out. Let's get out. You know, my wife's active, I'm active. I'm like, do something. And they don't know what to do with themselves. But when we took it away for a few days, they're chattier. Sometimes you think, oh God, I wish I hadn't done that. Give me the tablet back. Shut up.
Yeah.
One of them just chews your ear off. I'm like, God say, yeah. But so I do believe, I think tablets, all that wicked, it's great. And one of my kids' teachers once told me that back in the day, the Victorian times, they looked upon books as being a distraction from education.
Okay.
All these stories,
Yeah.
they're a distraction from the Bible and from God and from studying and proper studying. No. So maybe tablets are the new books of the Victorian times. However, there's lots to get from them. I can see they pick up language, they pick up terms, they're saying cool things, and they've got music through there, and I love that. Yeah. And you know, they even like they because obviously a lot of American YouTubers, they do the little accents and stuff. Right. Amazing. But they're not going to be on the telly all the time. There's still a place for TV and radio. That was my point. I told you I'd ramble. I told you I'd ramble.
As you reflect back on your career, are there things that you wish you had done differently? Or more of?
Okay, so the biggest issue I suppose I had in my career, which you may have heard about, you may not, is I was sacked 5 years ago, around about this time, in September 5 years ago.
Why?
Why? Because I was in a WhatsApp group with my production team, and there were messages in that WhatsApp group that were deemed inappropriate. Those WhatsApp messages were found on a BBC laptop because one of the guys had synced up his messages to his Mac because he was editing videos for the show because the show's doing really well, so making loads of content, and they put him on that job full time. He then gave that MacBook to somebody else. They open it up, but because his messages are synced up, you know, it's a remote.
Just popping up.
They're just popping up.
Yeah.
She sees her name. She realizes that these guys in the production group are talking about her. She then goes searching for other stuff. She screenshots messages that show them using racist terminology, albeit they will argue in a humorous way.
Yeah.
Homophobic language, referring to some guys as being kind of, they weren't gay, but they're referring to them as being just the crude words for gay, and Hindi words for it as well. So in language and other little terms. Again, these guys will argue, I'm just going to try and balance it out. They were being funny or it was just humor. Yeah. And it was in their phones and it was private. It wasn't on air. It wasn't public. But it was on a BBC MacBook, so it was deemed inappropriate. I didn't make any comments. I don't check those messages. So I didn't make any racist comments, any homophobic.
Okay.
I'm in the group.
Yeah.
So through association, they said, you've breached your contract. Now, I'll tell you, because I don't know, when does this go out?
Probably about
Roughly.
2 weeks.
Right. Okay. So at the moment, we're currently still, for the last 4.5 years, going through a legal battle.
You're kidding me.
So it's been going back and forth, back and forth. It's exhausting. So that, as well as property, as well as your kids, as well as supporting your wife, as well as podcasts, as well as a production company, as well as trying to get back on the telly, back on the radio. But I've got issues getting back on mainstream radio and telly because my brand, my product has been tainted with this thing in the past. Because now when you Google it, you'll see racist, homophobic, lewd.
Right.
Which breaks my heart because it goes against everything I stand
Yeah.
for. I come from a family with sisters.
Of course.
I'm a married man.
Yeah.
I don't do lewd. I DJ'd in a gay club for 6 years.
Right.
Twice a week. So I'm like, homophobic, racist. They said, yeah, anti-Pakistani comments were made. And I'm like, my dad was born in Lahore, Pakistan.
Yeah, right.
But when the beast, whatever I want to call it, when the monster wants to go out and get you, like Holly and Fern, Holly and Fern, where did I get it from? Holly Willoughby and Philip Schofield. I told you, when the press machine wants to go after you and go, you've done wrong.
Because they need a story as well.
Because they need a story.
Yeah.
So what happened was, my boss came to me at the BBC and went, no, we found these messages. You're not really in them, but, you're in the group. And I went, dude, I can't even tell you what those messages say. I said, I'm in 25 WhatsApp groups. That message is pinging all the time. These guys, and I know these guys, they're younger than me on the production crew. I said, they send like 100 messages a day. I literally, I'll respond to the last one at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because I'll finish my radio show, breakfast show, it was 6 till 10 a.m. Then you'd film something, then you'd get back, then you'd feed the kids, then you'd hang out with them a bit. I used to fall asleep with my kids at 7 o'clock because you're getting up for the breakfast show at 4 a.m. again. So I said, I'm just not that person on it. He went, look, I get that. He goes, everyone knows you. And no one's made a complaint against you.
Okay.
To this day, no one's made a complaint against me. Even the girl who found the message said nothing to do with Tommy. But someone leaked it to the Daily Mail and said he's been suspended for homophobic, lewd and racist behaviour. And after that, the BBC moved away from me because the story was too big. They had to do something. So when you say, could I do something differently? I think I'd go back and probably fight a little bit harder. Because at the time I was like, this is ridiculous. I've not said anything. I've not done anything. This is all going to get sorted out. And it didn't. Right. And instead it was like, yeah, but why would they use this language around you if they didn't think you were cool with it? And I went, well, racism amongst brown people, it's not really racism. It's kind of into brown people banter.
Yeah,
because you're never going to go after that person.
Yeah.
So it's a different kind of, but they went, do you agree that these terms, these P words for Pakistani, how do you feel? I went, they're not nice. Yeah. I've been beaten up to those words. Right. I know those words. Right. I've been at the other end of it, but I don't use that language and I haven't done it. But then I guess at that time when they sacked me, the Harvey Weinstein thing was going on. There were men in positions of power that had abused their power. The Jimmy Savile thing at the BBC, there was things that they'd swept under the carpet. Right. So I think there was a shift like, oh, we don't want to be seen to be sweeping this under the carpet.
Got you.
But I do really truly believe if I was a white mainstream Radio 1, Radio 2, even One Extra broadcaster, it would have been different. Because there have been cases of people complaining about those broadcasters and what they've done and text. They were harassing girls, whatever, but they've been let back in. Right. Because they get it. Where I don't think they get the language and the nuances of India, Pakistan, and because those guys were basically, they were talking about cricket. Yeah. They were calling they're using the P word for the Pakistani team. Right. Oh, we're going to smash them up.
Okay, gotcha.
But I'm like, so I thought, how do I explain the cricket rivalry?
Yeah, gotcha.
And my problem was I tried to explain it, whereas I should have just gone, I haven't said it. And if you can't touch me, and here's my lawyers, and and I should have protected myself. But I thought, this is crazy. They know me. I've worked with the BBC for 10 years. There's never been a complaint against me. No one, not a runner, no one, even to this day. They, nothing. So I'm like, surely they'll go, this isn't me. Right. He doesn't say these things. And everyone who's Pakistani who I work with, all the other people from different cultures, were all supporting me. But the monster, the beast, the whatever it is, the cancel culture, I think I was one of the early ones of cancel culture. Wow. So that was tough because then you got to reinvent yourself. Yeah. And then COVID hit and there was no live gigs. So there's been some tough times. And it was actually having my property that got me through it. Because I was able to kind of go, well, actually, I can refinance, pull out some money, and at least pay my bills.
Interesting.
So that's why you have those things to secure you. That's why they say, oh, get an education.
Yeah.
Because they're saying you don't know when you're going to need that backbone to back you up when the other stuff messes up. So yeah, I don't know.
So I guess in terms of those lessons that you've learned through the career, is it that it's almost like you say, be careful of who you trust, or be mindful, or, is it, or lawyer up when something happens?
I heard on another podcast, I'm going to nick this from, it'll come back to me in a minute. It's the disruptive entrepreneur, Rob Moore.
Right.
Rob Moore, disruptive entrepreneur. And it was weird because podcasts really saved me at the time. There's a couple of podcasts I listened to. Joe Rogan talking to Roseanne Barr. Roseanne had just been cancelled from her show because she tweeted something in the night and it was deemed offensive. I think she referred to someone who was 1/8 black, if I've got it right. She says as aping around, but she used the term ape.
Okay.
And they're like, oh, that's because she's black. And she goes, I use that term all the time.
Yeah.
And boom, they cancelled her. They went for they dropped her before any advertisers even stopped from the cancelled themselves from the show. They dropped her. And she was talking about that. And that whole episode really helped me understand, actually, there's a thing going on.
Yeah.
The thing that Rob Moore said was, he said, if someone says you're crap, I don't like Shankar, I just don't like the way he talks, he's crap, he's not my kind of guy. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's their opinion.
Yeah.
You haven't got to like a Big Mac.
Yeah.
Billions of people
do. Yeah.
But not everybody does. Not everyone likes the Beatles. Someone's going to go, oh, the Beatles were crap.
Yeah.
But their success tells you they weren't. But it's cool. But if someone says, hey, I hear that Shankar, he's a real wrong, and when he gets people into a room, he touches their knee. Tommy Sandhu said he touched his thigh inappropriately. Right? Yeah. He's like, well, that's a complete lie.
Yeah.
That's when I think you need to go, if someone goes after your integrity, you have to do something about it, which is why I've had the legal case going on, because they let me go under the guise of racism, homophobic, and lewdness.
Oh.
I didn't.
Right.
I've made a joke in those WhatsApp groups. There's one joke. There's a Willy joke.
Yeah. Right.
I will continue to make Willy jokes the day I die. I find willies and wobbly bits on people's bodies funny.
Yeah.
I'm a child.
Yeah.
I do those jokes with my mum.
Yeah.
With my sisters, with my kids.
Right.
That's not there's no one offended by anything I've ever written. So what I don't get is how I got to the situation. But then I believe, like I fell into this business, it was out of my control.
Gotcha.
I've had this issue without my control. I also think in my spiritual nature, if you're a good person, things maybe are happening for a reason. This has been a brilliant wake-up call. It's made me toughen up. It's made me see it as a business. Dude, I fell into it all before in the way that I was lucky. I met the producer who put me forward for Sky One, who put me onto the Asian network. I then landed the breakfast show. I was on a lovely 6-figure salary, doing your thing, doing my thing and earning money through property.
Yeah.
I was the man. I had the cars, lovely big house. It's all good. So I'm not I've got nothing to complain about, but this shouldn't have happened. This is unjust. So I'm going to fight my fight, but without taking on a victim mentality. Okay. I don't want to be and then they did this. And I did hit a low, and I did cry my eyes out, and I didn't know what was going on.
Right.
I didn't understand. Because I kept going, but I didn't, and every night in bed, but I didn't say anything. But I didn't say, but I don't, what did I say that, it's complicated.
Yeah.
That's what I get. It's bigger than that.
It's bigger than that.
What does that mean? But I haven't done anything. I don't feel these things towards Pakistanis, gays, or anybody else, or homosexual people, or other women. I don't perv over other women. I've had my fun.
Yeah.
Done it. I love my wife. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's cool. I'm good. So that, I guess when you come out, my lesson would be not to dwell too much. You got to keep moving.
Okay.
So that's what I would say. So I think I dwelled on it for probably a little bit too long.
Right.
And I let it be a bit of a hang up because I was like, oh, look, I was flying. My career was flying. I was the first brown boy doing it. And you get that bitterness. You're like, man, these guys are out of order. They're out to get me. And then you realize they're not out to get you. It's just a cock up.
Or do you think it's a matter of knowing that, like you said something there, like, this is a business. Is it you need to, especially in the entertainment world, there's a corporate structure to it, but it's blurred lines between entertainment and fun, and then there's business. But you need to always be aware that this is business. Like anything that is being done, said, or whatever, you have to have a level of corporate mindset.
Completely. You do. You have to treat yourself like a product to some extent. What I do and you do as well has to come from the heart.
Yeah.
So it has to be you, has to be human, but Again, your behavior, you are your shop, you are your brand, how you meet, greet, look at people. You can't have off days. When I'm out and about, someone's going to come up when I'm with my wife and might recognize you, might want a picture. My wife's cool with it. You know, like the kids now understand it. People come up to daddy. My son loved it because I called his name. I said Milo when he was on, which I know is a hot chocolate in Australia. Everyone from Australia and New Zealand tells me that.
Yeah.
And
a fantastic drink. But
yeah, is it?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
Fantastic drink.
It looks powdery and
yeah.
Right, but anyway, so and they and I called his name out, and we were in Dubai in a pool, and someone went, "Is that your son's name, Milo?" Because they saw he was an Asian guy, and I went, "Yeah, South Asian guy," and he went, "So are you Tommy?" I went, "Yeah," and he went, "I've heard you talk about your son on the radio."
Yeah, wow.
And Milo was like, "There you go, they recognize me more than you." So they get now what goes with it, but I've said to him, I said, look, you know, when we meet people, we have to sort of stop and say hello because other people go, what an arsehole.
Yes.
And
bad for branding.
And you do owe it to them. And when I hear people kind of go, oh man, I just don't get no private space. I get that. And I get what it must be on that elite level when you're an A-lister and I'm not. But when you're at that level, it must be terrible because you just don't get that time alone and people are constantly coming up or everywhere you go. I get it in Asian rooms. Right. So I think where people are half looking at you because they sort of might half recognize you.
Got you.
But to have, if you were like a Brad Pitt, oh my God, you're going to have no life.
Right.
So yeah, you have to treat yourself like a product. You have to defend yourself and you have to work hard and you have to then think of the next thing and you have to keep trying new things. Stand up, I only got into 4 years ago,
wow.
4 years ago. And that was because of the job. And that's because the stand-up promoter said, look, you're a funny guy. Just come and try it. It's like, oh man, I'm cringing at the thought of it. I'm cringing.
That is I think that is the epitome of fear, man, to be like, I'm going to stand up in front of people and I think what I'm writing down is funny and you're going to laugh and that's going to be what you do for an hour set or whatever it may be just to create that that is ballsy.
All right, I know this is going to be such a cliche thing to say. What is your ultimate joy? Where's the best place on the planet where you have the most fun or have had the most fun? Like I'm thinking, for me, I'm going to say Vegas, whatever, with the boys, party, man, you know, pool parties. Where does the greatest joy for you, Shankar, lie in any way? Is it food? Is it a place? Is it a theatre show? Is it a what?
Oh, I would have to say my bed, man.
Your bed? Oh, are you being
dead? I love sleep.
Oh, sleep. Okay, man, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not the answer I thought. What I thought was like where you get your maximum joy.
Yeah.
You would go. If someone said this is where it's skiing, it's snowboarding, it's surfing, right? There's a thrill that is unlike any other.
Yeah.
If you are willing to experience that, you should also be willing to experience your worst fear. I tell you why, because on the spectrum of human emotions, once you feel the full dark and you feel the full light, you can then I think it puts bookends to your emotional spectrum.
Right.
So yes, stand up and going out there is scary. I call it the martial arts of public speaking because you make one wrong move and you're dead.
Yeah.
They get you in a grip, they get you in a choke, you're gone.
You're dead.
Right, you're dead.
Yeah. Because it's face to face.
Face to face.
Live.
So I got to go out there stronger than ever.
Yeah.
So weirdly, from my radio days, from being sacked to where I am now, I feel stronger.
Got you.
Because I've been training. I've been in the martial arts dojo, if you can call it that.
Yeah.
You know, doing that where I know if I leave the gaps too long or if I haven't quite made the point, if the joke doesn't land or if I don't keep the pace going or the energy going, it's going to drop off. You know, I'm going to get hurt.
Yeah.
So coming back to your point is, yes, I treat myself like a business, but keep yourself close to your fears as well as your joys. So people sometimes, like when I went through my kind of downer and depression of, you know, losing the job and everything else, and I wouldn't open my post. I didn't address issues in my life. I didn't, you know, people's birthdays coming up. I hadn't sorted something, you know, I just wasn't on top of my kids and homework. I was dropping off.
Yeah.
And then I realized you got to be close to those fears. You got the things that intimidate you or worry you. And my kids worried, looking at my kids worried me because I was like, shit, how am I going to look after these guys?
Yeah.
You know, the bills that were coming through. Oh crap, I don't have the same money coming in. Yeah, of course we had money in property, but it's not hard money.
Exactly. It's not liquid.
No.
Yeah.
And we were relying on my salary. My missus was on maternity leave.
Right.
So then she had to quickly go back to work just as an income was coming.
Yeah.
So all that rejiggling, dropping down, your ego's hurt, it's humbling.
Yeah.
And again, I've got a newfound respect for my wife because all of a sudden she stepped up and held us all together. And I'd probably say, she saved my life,
Wow.
because she kept me in the game. You'd because we're performers.
Yeah.
You go out and about, you can high five everybody, right?
But the inside.
Inside, you come back and I'd go into the kitchen and I'd lie on the floor. Don't feel sorry for me. I got underfloor heating. So it was quite cozy down there.
Yeah, right.
But that's what I would do.
Right.
Yeah, the tears dry up immediately.
Yeah,
of the warm.
yeah.
You get a little facial from it because of the steam from the no. Yeah, so it was nice. So like it was tough. So I think we will all, and I'm saying this to you right now, maybe you're going through it right now. You will all have that time when you think, I don't think I can do it much more. And what some people are sending me all these things like, no, look, don't worry, God or whoever you believe in only puts on your shoulders the weight or the burden of what you can take. And I'm going, shit, man, I don't know if I can take this. I think I'm at my wit's end. Like even little things like when my missus would tell the kids off, tell my son off, I couldn't handle the noise. Yeah. It'd be like, like the shouting is like my heart was made of glass. It was fragile. So you kind of learn to toughen up. And all I'd say to all those people is if you're going through it, if whatever is happening in your life has taken you away from focusing on your TV or your career or chasing those dreams or the business, because your business and all those things require your energy and effort. Yeah. Just keep taking baby steps. Right. And all those little babies, it sounds so basic, but just keep going. Whatever it is, even if you just do one thing that you think, oh shit, I've got to go through all this paperwork, got to register my company with this, got to sort my website out, I've got to do my emails, whatever it is, I've got to message that person, got to write a pitch, I've got to pitch, got to speak to that artist, got to see if they're interested in doing this series, all that, it can suddenly feel like, oh, where do I start?
Overwhelming.
Just do one.
You're right.
Like today, I was a bit lazy today in the gym, did my cardio, I did 2 body parts, I was like, oh, screw it, I'm not doing anymore. I've done something, and when I'm feeling a little bit more energetic, I'll do 4. Right. Same thing with this. Like today, I'm doing your podcast. Yeah. Then I'm going to do mine tonight. That's fine because I know for the next 5 days after that, I'm flat out. So look after yourself, protect yourself, and do what you got to do to get through and get yourself to where you're going to get to. And the only difference between you and those that get there is they stuck with it. Yeah, that's it.
And the last question I have: what would be your greatest career advice?
For this business, I suppose, because I suppose was all I can really offer is okay. So there's some things that have landed with me. Scylla, for example, said a couple of things, a couple of little nuggets I'm going to share with you because they've stuck with me. So maybe that would be my advice as well. Maybe not when I come to the end of this sentence. I don't know. I'm working it out now as I say it. So Scylla would say things like, "Suck it in and turn it on." Right?
Suck it in and turn it on.
Sometimes you don't want to do it. Whether it be going to visit the in-laws or sitting with your kid for something or another or doing something for your own business sense or going on stage. You're not in the mood. Yeah. When you got to do a comedy night, you got to be in a funny mood. Yeah. Life ain't always funny. No, it's not that. So you got to suck it in and turn it on. Bing. It's showtime. It's game time, people. Yeah. It's time to just literally hit the switch in your head. She also said, life's like a tightrope. Meaning you're walking this tightrope. The minute you start looking around at he said, she said, or what are they doing? And their podcast bit like that. And you're going to wobble on your rope and you're going to fall. So don't look around. Yeah. Forget looking around.
Stay in your lane.
And I've developed that thought process into like league tables as well. When I look at like even the Premier League, right? Liverpool at the top, so-and-so at the bottom, so-and-so in the middle. I went, actually, tables are irrelevant. Yeah. What other people are doing is irrelevant. Of course, tables are relevant because it's who's going to win the league in the point system. But knowing where you are, where Everton is compared to Man U, compared to West Ham, compared to Liverpool, is irrelevant because all you can do is play your best game. Gotcha. So if you're the player, you're your team right now, play to the best of your ability and don't worry about anybody else. If someone's doing better, then you might take something from that, like, okay, Joe Rogan's got a more successful podcast than me. Yeah. But why? Yeah. He's been going
he's been doing it
since 2010. So he was doing it 8, 9, 10 years before podcasts were even mainstream. Brilliant. 8, 9, 10 years. Yeah. I mean, like, that's a full investment. He should be at the forefront of podcasts. And he's got it right. He's tapped into the right market. He's the people's voice. He's mainstream America's voice for particularly for men. And there's a place for him there. You know, he's got 3-4 million people that listen to him right on a regular subscriber.
Yeah.
But then I think, hang on a minute, there's 1.4 billion people in India.
Piece of pie everywhere.
I just need 5 million. I need 1/10 of that is 140 million.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but then I'm probably not the voice for India because I'm a British born Indian lad, but somebody, you know, there's something there. If you get that right, it's going to fly. So my advice, I suppose, in that way is sometimes you don't want to do it. You got to be disciplined enough to do it. What is the thing that, but I believe it, I shouldn't be agreeing with Andrew Tate for anything because he's a controversial man, but that whole, don't let your mood get in the way of what you do that day. I think too many people are mood, and I'm guilty of it. I'm an emotional person. Like, I'm not in the mood.
Yes.
No, sometimes you just have to do it. And that's discipline. And that's hard. Look, after I just said I wasn't in the mood to do much exercise, so I just did a bit today.
Yeah.
But do something. So focus on the tightrope, focus on your end goal, and don't talk about people, talk about ideas, and just keep going.
Beautiful. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tommy Sandhu.
Thank you.
This is the Come Up Starter Kit.